up? My name is Sapphire. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about the Milk Cosmetics and Beetlejuice collection. This is the Waiting Room Pressed Pigment palette. Notice that I said pressed pigment and not eyeshadow palette. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing a look with this today, and we'll just give you my thoughts and opinions about this. So to start off, like I said, this is not an eyeshadow palette. This is a pressed pigment palette because some of the shadows in here aren't approved for use around the eye area, and that's specifically here in like the US. I know in like the UK, a lot of the ingredients that are used are like approved to use over there, but here in the US, those ingredients are not approved to be used around the eye. I'm sure it's because it causes staining as well as some eye irritation for some people. I'm not one of those people, and I'm okay with staining. So if you're one of those people and you don't care about staining or anything like that, you know, then this palette won't be a problem for you. So first of all, this is just the outer box, and I already love it. So let me open it up. So it's really cool. I didn't notice this at first, but there's a quote here that says, "Is this what happens when you die?" Which, if you've seen Beetlejuice, you know that's one of the quotes from the movie. And then this is the palette itself. It is like a acrylic, which I really like. I think that's really cool. And it has the sandworm all over it. Love it. I'm a big Beetlejuice fan, in case that wasn't apparent. And the plastic inside, that's like the shadow cover, it actually looks like a still from the movie. I don't know if you can tell. But yeah, that's really, really cool. That's a really nice touch. The inside comes with a really big mirror that I really like, and then these are all the shadows themselves. I accidentally dug into this one with my nail, so sorry about that. Also, RIP. But the shadows come pressed with an image of the sod girl from Beetlejuice. She's someone that sits in the waiting room and died from being sawed in half in a magic act. But they have this palette, and then the other one, I can't remember the name of the other one, but the other one is like purple and green themed, and I'm not into purples and greens personally. It's also smaller. This is a tin pan palette, and then the other one is 8. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why both of them couldn't be 10, but they did. Yeah, anyway, so the colors are going to be Obituary, No Exit, Sod Girl, Dante's Inferno, Lydia, Charman, Tombstone, Shrunken Head, Juno, and Sandworm. Because I'm not good at swatches, I'm not going to be swatching these. I'm very terrible at swatching. I also don't think swatches really do anything. Like, you can't tell. All it does is show you what the color may look like, and you don't get an idea of how it's going to perform on the eyes. So if you want to see swatches, I would recommend going to their website, or I think Sephora's website as well. So I've been seeing everybody use the like red tones, but I think I want to go in with the grays. I haven't seen anybody do like a gray look, so that's what I'm going to do. The collection also included, well, first of all, it included 2 eyeshadow palettes, 3 like lip paints, and 3, I think, bullet lipsticks, 3 or 4, I can't remember, 3 liners, and a brush set, and a mirror. I can't remember what all is included, but that big giant PR box was available. I hadn't wanted to pick one of those up. I wish I could have, but yeah. Everything's sold out right now on their website, I believe, except for last time I checked, the palettes were still available, and they're still available on Sephora as well. But yeah, so I also picked up one of the liners. This is called The Afterlife. The packaging is really beautiful as well. Melt always has really nice packaging, so this wasn't a surprise. This is, I've kind of dipped into this already, but this is the liner. It's like a chartreuse kind of color, like a limey yellow-green. Really cool, so I'm excited to try this out. I'm gonna get started on the eyes now. They've already been primed, so I'll just jump right in. Okay, so the first shade I'm going to take is Shrunken Head, which is the lightest gray in the palette. If you're not familiar with Melt's shadow formula, they can be kind of dusty, and that they produce a lot of fallout, which isn't really a problem to me. I don't mind fallout, but I know some people do, so it's always worth mentioning whenever I use a Melt product. Okay, right off the bat, no issues here. There even seems to be a little less fallout in this palette than my other Melt palette. It also seems like the color is not as, well, it seems easier to work with than my other Melt palette. My other Melt palette is pretty pigmented, like right off the bat, so it can be kind of difficult to blend out, but this one seems to be applying a little tiny bit more sheer, which is really good for people, you know, makes it approachable for people, I should say. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with Tombstone, which is the next darkest shade. They feel really, really soft and nice on the skin. And even though they seem to be applying a little more sheer than what I'm used to, they're still very, very pigmented right off the bat. Originally, I wanted to recreate the look that's on the campaign image for this palette, but like I said earlier, I've been seeing everybody using the reds, and I was like, well, how do the grays perform? So that's why I decided to do a gray look. Also, the shade seems to be blending out really nicely. I also like that it's not making my skin patches here that don't like to take shadows, it's not making them more obvious, and it's not applying patchy on this eye. I usually have problems with dark shadows applying patchy on this eye for some reason. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be happening so far, so that's a big plus for me. Alright, so I'm just going to take the black, which is Charmin. I always want to go and say Charmander, which for those of you that don't know, that's a Pokemon. It's just funny. Not much I can say. It's black and it's pigmented. And I almost stabbed myself in the eye. Now let's see how well it blends out. It's actually blending out pretty easy, which is shocking for a black shadow. It's like unheard of. Black is notorious for being difficult to work with, but this one is blending out really, really nicely. Alright, so next I'm going to go in with Juno, which is this shimmer here. Melt recommends that you apply that shade with your fingers, so that's what I'm going to do, because it's more like a topper than a full-on like shadow. I'm just going to apply that right in the center. The texture of it is really, really nice. It's really creamy and soft. And the way it looks kind of reminds me of the Stila liquid shadows. Or back in the day, Stila had these shadows that I can't remember what they were called. Actually, I think I have one. Okay, so these shadows from Stila, this is the Magnificent Metals. Yeah, it even kind of feels the same. So like if you look at them, they're almost like the same. So yeah, that's what this Juno shade reminds me of. So if you've ever used one of those Stila shadows, and you know what it's like. It's just like a finer version of the Stila shadow, if that makes sense. Yeah, and I would definitely say this is more like a shadow topper than like a full-on pigmented shadow. it's still pretty sheer. You can see like what's underneath. Should be like, it would be really pretty like applied over one of the grays, or maybe even like one of the reds too. It'd be really cool. Maybe the next time I use this palette, I'll try that. Alright, so now for the fun part, I'm going to try and do a liner look. Not a liner look. I'm going to try and do a wing. Sorry, my brain says weird shit when I just let it run on autopilot. So first of all, the texture is really, really creamy and movable. I guess that helps prevent it from drying out in the jar. And I've already played around with it. It applies really smoothly. So we'll see how it applies over like shadows. Actually, I'll start on this side. Okay, yeah, as I kind of figured, it's pretty sheer. So I'm gonna let that dry down and then move to the other side. And then I'll go back and apply more. Okay, let's go back to the other side. So it definitely helped the color come out a little more, but it does seem to be like wrinkling. It's not cracking because it's not flaking off or anything, but it's like fell into the little tiny wrinkles in my eye. But I guess from far away it's not really noticeable, you know, so that's not a big deal to me. It's honestly to be expected with a liner that's this color. I will say though, it does dry down really fast, so if you want to move it around, you got to work pretty quickly. Okay, so that's it for the top part of the eyes. I'm going to go ahead and do my face off camera, and then I'll be back to finish the eyes. Okay, so my face is done. I'm going to finish off the eyes really quick. I'm just going to take that Tombstone shade, which is the second darkest gray. I'm going to run that on the outer corner just a little bit, like that's it. And then I'm going to take another brush and I'm going to take Shrunken Head, which is the lightest gray, and run that underneath. Then I'm going to take Sandworm, which is the white in the palette, and pat that on the inner corner. Then a little bit of Juno and pat that as well. Now for the fun part, I'm going to take the liner again and place that in my waterline. I'm going to go ahead and run it over my lashes as well. Okay, I'm going to try and do an extended inner corner, or I don't know, I might kind of leave it like this. I usually always mess up a look when I try to do like extended inner corner, so I think actually I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm going to take a spoolie and just paint some of this liner on it just to get my lashes a little better. I got a little bit under my eyes, so I'm just taking a brush and running it underneath just to clean up the liner I got under there. Okay, so I'm going to put on some lashes and a lip, and I'll be back with my final thoughts. Okay, so this is the final look. I decided not to put on lashes just so you can see the liner a little bit better. But yeah, so let's get into my final thoughts about this collection, or at least the items that I use. So, thoughts about the liner. I really love the color of it. It applies nice and smooth. The only thing is that when it dries down, it is pretty crepey looking. Like I said earlier, it did settle into the lines in my eyes, but it doesn't seem to be flaking off, which is a big plus in my book, because a lot of other colored liners that I've used that are like this, they flake off and like get all over my face, and you know, by the end of the day there's like patches missing. That doesn't seem to be the problem with this. It just seems to be cracking, and that's about it. For the eyeshadow palette, packaging A++. Love the packaging. I love the color selection in the palette itself. The shadows applied nicely. It wasn't anything that I didn't expect from Melt. If you are familiar with Melt's formula, then you know that their shadows apply very nicely. But yeah, so the shadow quality is there with Melt, no surprise. Now, the price for this palette, I believe, was $58. The other one is $48. I'm sure it's because it only has 8 shades. So it is up there in the price point. In my opinion, especially considering that this is like a collector's item, it's 100% worth it, especially if you don't have like these colors in your collection, and of course if you're a Beetlejuice fan. Now, if you already have these shadows in your collection, and you're not a fan of Beetlejuice, I don't see why you would be picking up this collection to begin with, honestly. Then you don't need this in your eyeshadow collection. But me being a Beetlejuice fan and a collector of eyeshadow palettes, I knew I had to have this. I wish I could have gotten the entire collection, but it was a little bit too high of a price point for me. Now, these are, or at least the last time that I checked, still available on Melt's website as well as Sephora. So if you're wanting to pick up one of the palettes or both of them, I would be sure to check out either their website or Sephora. So on their website, you can use Sezzle, which is kind of like Afterpay, which I guess if you don't know what either of those things are, it's a service that lets you make payments toward like larger purchases, and I think the limit to use Sezzle is like $35, so this would qualify. That's how I got mine. So yeah, I believe Sephora also has Afterpay or something like that to where you can make payments, so you don't have to pay the large amount of money up front if you're wanting to pick yourself up a late Christmas gift. Hello. But yeah, I really enjoy the packaging for both of these products. Beautiful. I loved how both of them performed, and I'm very happy to be adding these to my collection. So yeah, that's the end. I would just like to thank you for watching. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!